Hello. This
Hi.
is Dr. Andrea Little Mason, affectionately known as Dr. Doula. And I am here with another Birth Her Story conversation. And if you notice that I seem a little bit hyped today, it's because I have one of my favorite people on. And I miss her and I just wish I could squeeze her and hug her and love her and all that good stuff. But this will have to do. I am here with, well, I call her Sam, but she's Samantha, Olivia, and Olivia, Sam. She's all that. She'll tell you who she is, right? She's all that stuff. She'll tell you. But let me tell you, it's hard when there's certain people, like when you start talking about them, you just feel all kinds of things. She's one of those people I knew online far longer than I knew longer before I met her. And then when I met her, her energy was just exactly what I thought it would be. And she's absolutely amazing. But of course, you know me, I prefer that people introduce themselves and tell you who they are and that you get to know us a little bit more together during the conversation. So, Sam, tell the people who you are, beautiful.
Hi, people. I'm so excited to be here with you. My name is Sam, Samantha, Olivia, online a lot. I am a labor and postpartum doula, and my computer is turning. Okay, labor.
Remember, no edits and no censors, girl. Whatever.
I know. Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm a labor and postpartum doula. I'm the owner of DC Metro Maternity in the DMV area. I'm a member of the Pro Doula Training and Development Team. What else is relevant? I love Black women. I love all women and everybody else, but I know where my heart is.
I love it how we do the all thing ourselves.
Yeah, and everybody else.
I love everybody, okay? And that is, it's really something, I often tell people, I said there would be no problem if someone was like, oh, wow, if they were a Latino woman and they were like, I love Latino women. I'm really here to serve Latino women. I understand our issues, right? Yeah. Or if an Asian woman said, I really love Asian women. I understand their challenges here, or anything. Native American woman, Indian woman from, India. We though, as Black women, for whatever reason, it's always like, okay, look, I love everybody.
Well, it's conditioned. It's conditioned because, so I have been to a lot of schools with a lot of white people. I've worked jobs with a lot of white people, and it's, I think, conditioned that we feel as though we have to explicitly state, yes, you are welcome to. And I don't know why we do that, because people are going to come anyway. Like, they come all up in our stuff no matter what. So why do we even have to say that they're welcome? Because people feel welcome no matter what.
Exactly.
I don't know why I do that.
No, you're not the only one, because I tend to do that too, which is why I noticed it. Because there is this, it was a big decision for me to decide that I was going to actually say, hey, I love Black women. I'm here to support Black women. Yeah. And that was a huge decision for me because, like you, I was raised in environments most of the time where I was the only.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't that it wasn't a thing where I needed to, I don't know. I just had to process through it though.
Mm-hmm.
I had to process through what that meant. And part of that processing through what that meant understanding that unless I was willing to call our names, to say, hey, Black women, to say, I'm talking to you, then I was also just kind of following along.
Yeah. And we have to be explicit. We have to go look for each other. Like, if I'm ever in a room and there's another Black woman. That's who I'm sitting next to, always. And it's on purpose. And I'm like, hey, how you doing over there? Hey.
And you know, I've heard people talk about that before, because there have been so many efforts before, or I won't say, well, I could say efforts, but I just won't this time. There have been so many times when us finding each other in the room or anything like that in historical context was not good for us. We had to keep our distance. I'm like you. I'm like, girl, I see you. Hey.
Right. I understand why people have felt like they need to keep their distance, and, you know, why some people have felt like, okay, there can only be one and I am she. My experience has been, though, I think I'm of a generation where, like, maybe the generation before me, like my mom's generation, I think maybe they did some of that and they like really had to elbow their way in. I have been blessed to not always be the only. Now, I might have been one or two or three, but that means I'm going to go sit next to her. Yeah. And so for those of you who don't know, I went to undergrad at Duke after coming from the DC area. And it's a very Southern institution in a lot of ways, in ways that I was not prepared for. And they used to talk to us about self-segregation. Like, this big old school with all of this money would sit down and they would gather all of the Black Greek letter organizations and all of the Black student union folks and everybody, and have these forums about why we were self-segregating and how that was impacting our GPA and yada, yada, blah. And I am just no longer of the mindset that what we do in order to protect ourselves and have community is pathological. I don't believe that. I won't accept it.
I should tell you that I have this propensity to want to scream when y'all say amazing things, because I love y'all so much. So when I do my silent screams, I am like really going, oh my God. So I'm just okay.
I love you.
That is so, it's so, oh my gosh, it's so true. Yeah. It's so true. Like, you know, we come up with things, people say like, oh, you're self-segregating. That's why you're not prospering. That's why you're not, because you're not doing this and you're not doing that. It's from a deficit.
Yes.
That, like you said, it's deemed pathological to do protective things.
Yeah, I don't accept that anymore.
Exactly.
I don't accept it. I reject it. I refuse. Yeah. I am perfectly willing to be around white people. I mean, when I met you online, I was around a bunch of white people online. That was wonderful. Still is. I'm still there. But when I gather with other folks who understand certain parts of my experience, that's not wrong.
It's not. Ooh, I love that. I love that. It's just not wrong.
It's just not wrong. And people can feel however they want to feel about it, but nobody ever notices when, you know, I'm in the pro-doula world, so there's a lot of agencies. Nobody ever notices when an agency is full of white folks. If somebody tunes in and I just hurt your feelings, that's for you to sit with and not me.
And that's what I'm saying. You know, we work, there is that, what you referred to as the conditioning. It's like we are conditioned, like what will, we want everyone to be comfortable. We want everyone, and to our own detriment.
Yeah, and some of that is also a protection, right? Because like the more we make, I'll be specific, the more we make white people comfortable in a lot of our lives, the more we can prosper, we think. But that is not always the case. And sometimes we have to set a boundary.
It's the more we can prosper. It's the more that we are not targeted.
Yes.
Because that's a real thing. Because wait, if you have only Black people and well, they must be planning. I mean, this is all like planning stuff. This is like slave mentality.
Yes, we're planning a rebellion.
They're planning a rebellion. What? Wait a
Girl,
minute.
I'm just trying to have a glass of wine.
Girl, and I just don't want to have, and I'm just being honest, I don't want to have to code switch.
Yes, I don't want to explain some days.
I want to deal with it. I just want to sit there, and if I feel like rolling my eyes and she understand, all right, whatever, you do that, and nobody get offended because you got what I meant.
Yes.
What that eye roll over there meant, over whatever. And it was not necessary to explain it. Oh, well, come and leave you alone. Drink your wine. Stay up there. And
but we're not necessarily planning a revolution by being with our friends. Should we? Maybe.
But
maybe we should. But that's not usually what I'm doing.
But check this out. What's even crazier is that part that you said before, you said, if this offends you, the person needs to sit with it. That part that says, I don't know, I feel weird about that. It's just the Black people. What is that? Because when I see a bunch of others, whether it's white, whomever, whatever groups, I don't get that nervousness. I don't.
I'm not nervous.
I'm not nervous at all. It just is what it is. There's really something to be said about us really realizing even the power of that, to be able to say, I'm not going to avoid you, sis. I'm coming where you are. We're going to sit together. We're going to be not the mini chocolate chips. We're going to be the chocolate chips. We're going to be the Hershey kiss on the cookie, We're going to magnify it. We want to make sure you see it in all of its glory. And I love something else you said, because you said the thought of, there can only be one. And that's such a real thing. And I think we perpetuated and helped that along, but I don't think that it was our original idea.
I agree with you.
That there could only be one. And I absolutely love how in a matter of like less than 10 years, there was just like a handful of Black trainers, Black, like doula trainers, Black this, Black that, in birth culture, that now people are just like walking in that power. It's like, I have Sankofa birth ambassadors. You're over there, you're training with Pro Doula. Other people are doing their things. They're doing what they do. And it's
powerful. And we need all of us.
Talk about that though, because I think that I love when people say, we need us everywhere. It's so true. Why is it
everywhere?
Why is it that it's okay for there to be a plethora of, white-owned things in birth culture, and people can go online and Google and assess, is this the one I want to be with? Is this who and they have choices, but somehow for us, it's like, wait, she's doing it too?
Yeah.
No.
But it shouldn't be that way. And this is something like I'll admit, sometimes I have to work within myself to remember that, to like remember my own principles,
exactly.
And like live in them. And I'm like, no, that's good. She should do that. I think probably because at one time, there were only a few of us, and I think it seemed like we all had to be on the exact same page about everything. We all have to like march in lockstep, but that's not reality, because that's not our experience.
No,
that's not our experience. Like, I know that my experience in DC, I grew up at least thinking I was middle class. I have since met people that have made me question that, but I was led to believe by the power of my family and my mother's creativity that I was always middle class.
Yes, same here.
Yes, and I grew up with that experience, and when I grew up in DC, it was still mostly Chocolate City, so I never had to view Blackness as a deficit except in like history books.
Gotcha.
And so I think I know that there are so many different ways to be Black and to embrace Blackness. And so like everybody is not going to be Afrocentric. Everybody is not going to be bougie.
Exactly.
Everybody is not from the hood. And it does us a disservice if we pretend that we're any of those things that we're not. And then like, so there's us as birth workers, and then there's the clients.
Wait, and we also do, I was like, I'll wait, but no, we also don't need to give the impression that all of those things don't coexist in all
in one person. Yes.
Just catch me on the other day, girl. You'll see.
Right, because it's not like I never wear a head wrap.
Exactly. And it's not like I am never acting like, yo, wait, what? Okay, so, well, what you want to do? It's not.
Right. Like, we contain so many different things, and there's like us as birth workers, and then there's what our clients need. Because sometimes I do think in these little, squabbles and like, oh, well, I think everybody should have a home birth and we would be safer because we used to be safer. And I think everybody should be in the hospital and blah, blah, blah. We lose sight of the fact that like the average Black family, which is who many of us say that we want to serve, They don't care about none of this.
Yeah.
They don't care who you were trained with, what crew you repping. They're like, are you going to show up for me in the hospital? Are you going to show up for me in my postpartum home or not? Am I going to be alone? Am I going to be scared? Is somebody in that room going to look like me? Because that matters. That's why people hire my team a lot. They're just like, oh, okay, yeah, y'all are the first Black folks we found, and you answered the phone, and so we're gonna. and so let's work together.
And it's funny because that is so true. They're literally, a lot of them are literally like, I like her, or it's like, I feel you. Like,
yeah,
I'm not saying that there aren't those that, I'm not saying it to even make it sound like it's a monolith and we all think this way even now. But I am saying that, as you said, many of them are like, they're vibing you. Just like we vibe each other when we go other places. We're sitting there, we're like, your friend, something about her. Mm-hmm. Now, am I saying no other people do that? No, I'm not. But I am saying that often with Black people, they are looking for like, look, I know at least if you got some heavy melanin in you, like I can see your brown. I know you've experienced some stuff. I know you whatever. I know you, I feel like I can connect to you and I can say some stuff to you, and they're filling out more in that way. And you're absolutely right. The whole conversation about who you certified with and who are you whatever. And let me see. I'm not saying it's not important.
It does matter.
But
of course it matters.
But those aren't typically our conversations.
Yes, those are not my conversations with my clients.
No.
Like as a trainer for a specific organization, yes, of course. I have to have those conversations. Of course it matters.
Of course.
At the end of the day, though, like I just always come back to I know who I'm here for. And it's not to get caught up in that.
But that's so important to acknowledge.
Yeah.
I think someone was talking about the African sister, Nigerian sister, who was talking about the danger of the single story. And I always get her name wrong when I say it. I'm not gonna try.
I know who you're talking about, and I'm afraid to say it out loud.
Exactly right. I have to practice before. A beautiful name. I would just massacre it. But the single story is so dangerous for so many reasons. Walking in spaces as if there's just going to be, besides the fact that when we go in, if we're dealing with a Black family, we're assessing stuff in a different way, number one. But just being a birth worker and having a single story about this is how you do things. You know,
That's incredibly dangerous.
I was telling you before, I kind of walked away from some aspects of birth work for a minute just to see, okay, why do I feel so jaded?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's making me feel so jaded about this? I mean, literally, I got a whole job and a whole school system and a whole everything. Okay.
Wow.
I
Not Dr. Doula.
Girl, bye. I was like, I'm so sick of these, I'm so sick of these people, sick of them,
Yeah.
But I had to honestly look and I said, what is it that I'm tired of when I know I feel called to this work?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that I'm tired of? And I figured out I was tired of the bureaucracy of it. I was tired of these conversations that I was being told should be very important, but did not matter to me or my clients. I was wanting to be about, like what you said, I know what I'm here for. I was wanting to be about the work of doing what I felt was more than just work, was a call.
Yes.
This thing that I couldn't escape, that I was one of those who was supposed to help women during their childbearing year.
Yes.
And I couldn't get past that. And so I backed away from just some things. But in doing so, I listened more to and said, okay, let me pay attention to what my spirit is saying to me. Let me try that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if I try to listen to what my spirit is saying to me, then I'll be able to do this work with a different type of fervor.
Yes. Yes.
How did it start for you? How did you get, Duke, what was the major?
I majored in music with a minor in psychology.
Oh, I see
and I laugh every time I say it.
A clear path. I see the clear path to birth work. I see it, of course.
Okay, so how did I get here? I tell this story so often. And all of a sudden my mind went blank. Okay, so you know what it was? Okay, so it kind of starts with the recession in 2009. I did not think that I was coming back to DC. I had no idea where I was going. But when I went away to school, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm going to go move around. But in DC, there are always jobs because there's government jobs, there's nonprofit jobs. And so I worked at nonprofits. And the very first one, I worked with kids in foster care. And at that time in DC, most of the kids in foster care were Black, and a lot of them did not get adopted. I believe that they still have that problem, but I haven't read and checked. And so there were all of these teenagers growing up in the system, and families are supposed to raise kids, not systems. And so if you want to talk about like creating disconnection and deficits, what happened to a lot of the young women was that they would be 17, 18 and just magically pop up pregnant. And I say it that way with so much affection.
I know.
Because these girls, and these were brilliant, bright girls, but they knew nothing about their bodies. And they knew nothing about what love and relationship can look like. And so, of course, we seek that in ways that it's offered, and that can be physical, and then we procreate.
Yes. Yes.
And so these girls would have these babies, and they would come back to work because we paid them. And so they would come back to work, and I would be like, okay, I hadn't had a baby. I was like 22, 23. I still haven't had a baby. So I didn't know anything about it. And so like we would just be talking, and they would tell me their stories, and it sounded so lonely. And I didn't know anything about birth, but I knew that couldn't be how it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
That just seemed wrong. And so that was, I think, where the first seed was planted. And then I also worked at a nonprofit called the Black Women's Health Imperative. and it was the only national nonprofit focused on the health and well-being of Black women. I used to love saying that.
Wait, what was the name? What's the name of it again?
The Black Women's Health Imperative.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, I loved saying that. Anyway, one of my very first little research projects was about women giving birth in prison and being shackled. And I have no idea why that landed on my desk. But again, I said to myself, well, this can't be right. And this can't be right. Like, everything I know about birth suggests you shouldn't do it in shackles. Like
everything.
Shackles are from when we were enslaved. Like, this is not right. And so somehow in the midst of all of those events, I started Googling, because that's what you do. And that's how I found doulas. And I heard about doulas who would go into prisons and support women when they were incarcerated. And I said, wow, that's something. And at that point, I think I was on my own little Sankofa mission. I wouldn't have called it that at the time, but I was trying to surround myself, like, after having spent all of my educational years up through undergrad, surrounded by white people, I was trying not to do that anymore. I was like, okay, I need a break. And so I'm working at this organization surrounded by Black women. And so I said, I think I'm supposed to be a doula. And if I'm supposed to be a doula, there must be some Black woman that can teach me how.
Wow.
And
wow. What a mouthful. Wow.
There must be. And there was. Of course there was. So my first birth and postpartum training was with Mama Toto Village. With Aza and Cassie. Shout out to them. Hey, y'all. We haven't talked in a little while, but you're up the road. Hey. And yeah, I remember sitting in a room full of women and being so young in comparison. And some of the people age-wise weren't that much older than me, but they definitely had kids. It was me and one other young woman who was like still a teenager and wanted to be a midwife, and she just knew. And I felt like I was in the middle of just like wandering, like, who even am I? How am I in this room? They poured libations, and I was like, I'm like a church girl. So I was like, what is happening? Where am I? It felt right, but I was just very confused and confronted. And
there was no context for it yet.
I was like, y'all pouring, what is happening? What are we doing? But it was awesome. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that was my entry. Because I have been many places since then, but I think that's where I needed to start.
Yes. And that's just, I love that. What is it like? Because there are so many. I talk to, I'll have young women or like mothers who have daughters, and they're like, my daughter wants to be a doula. What can she do? And and other women who say, well, I don't have any children. How has that been for you? And what do you say, about just that whole thing?
I believe that as women, and specifically as Black women, we have a deep well of empathy if we are willing to tap into it. Nice. And for me, so much of doula work, like initially I was definitely approaching it from a public health perspective. And I thought, okay, we shall not be shackled. If we have babies young, we will be supported, and we shall never have any further infant mortality, and there will be no more low preterm birth. Like, I don't know. I think I had some like middle-class savior shit going on. It was a mess, and I needed to process through that. And so that, I think, initially was going to be my approach. But what I actually found the first time I saw a baby come out of a woman's birth canal was like, oh shit, that looks like it hurts. But I have been hurt before. And I have been to dark places. I I'm pretty open about it. I have to work through depression and anxiety. And I have to continuously do that work. And I think that it really does make it so that it's very easy for me to think of dark moments and think of moments when I didn't know if I could go on. And I always have. And so do people who give birth. Like, nobody gets to stay pregnant forever. And because you have to go through it, like, they say the only way out is through.
Yeah.
And so, no, have I been through that particular journey? Not yet. I hope to one day. But I know how to support another woman on a journey. And I certainly know how to support a Black woman on a journey.
I just love everything you just said. I've never heard anyone express it that way. That doesn't mean someone hasn't, but I've never heard it expressed that way. I think that is absolutely beautiful and a beautiful context to, a beautiful way just to, that the whole context of having the empathetic spirit, of being able to relate. And when you say, I certainly can support a Black woman, what does that mean?
So I think most of our clients, DC Metro Maternity, intentionally on our website is very clear that I might say it in the copy. I don't know. I might actually have written that down because I was feeling bold that day. That, like, we're here for Black women and Black birth workers, and truly everybody comes.
Yeah.
But like, I think that our clients tell us, particularly the Black women, they tell us they don't want to be in that room and nobody else looks like them. And currently, at least the last time they did statistics, DC was number 1 in the nation for maternal mortality. So that's a thing. And there have been times where for months at a time, it feels like every few weeks there's a story about how people that look like you and me die in childbirth.
Exactly.
That is terrifying.
Exactly.
It's terrifying. And so our clients really, like, at the end of the day, want to know that somebody's going to be there with them, and somebody's going to see if something racist goes down, and somebody's going to say, no, not her.
Yes. They
want someone to say, no, not her. And so, particularly in the groups that I hang out in the most, as far as the doula groups and the pro-doula groups, a lot of people talk about advocacy, and they say, we as doulas do not advocate for our clients. I am very careful with that language.
Exactly.
They say things like, doulas are a luxury. And there are people that I love very dearly that say that, and I pause there. Do I charge? Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a conversation you and I can have.
Exactly.
I charge well. I have doulas that contract with me. I pay them well, and I want to pay them better. So we may charge more soon. I don't know. But I also really want people to know that we are there to help them, and that we can often find a way to help and support them, because they really should not have to not have support in the room that they trust, because we're a luxury service. And so it's a tension that I sit with.
Yes.
And that I am still working through, because I like to think I'm young in my doula career. Next year will make 7 years. 7 years. Yeah. But I like to think that I'm still young in this. And I like to think that, there are some answers that I have yet to find. But the answer for me is probably not going to be as simple as we're a luxury service.
Like a yes or no.
Yeah.
I love that you said that because, you know, I sit with the same type of thing. Like I said before, it's more than just work to me. It's also this thing that compels me.
Yes.
It's I call it a call. It's
I don't think I could stop if I wanted to.
I tried, as I said.
I consider it sometimes. I'm like, this is exhausting. I got a degree. I could go do something.
Girl, talk about I'm like, I have all these degrees. I did not come here for this foolishness, you know?
You didn't.
But it's like, oh, really? You know, because it's like, this is the thing. I think it goes back to the whole notion of the single story again.
Yes.
I've had conversations recently where I would discuss Black women or those who are the protectors of the Black woman. Okay, because, and I think that's a different context for us as recently as 50 or 60 years ago, and even after that, but like in the South, you know, the women who were with them, those who were with them, those who were around them were acting as protectors.
Yes.
So then to say that you're not an advocate now in this hospital setting, especially if you feel a call to this, there is something, because it's like, wait, and see, I don't mean protector like an activist. That's not it.
No. And I don't. I have an activist streak in me, but I don't take it to the birth room.
Exactly. As I tell my clients, that makes your birth room antagonistic. It makes all kinds of things happen. And I have to actually tell them, because there are some, especially Black women, like, you're going to look at
that. And I'm like, hey, girl, I'm not going to fight.
No.
While you're contracting.
Exactly.
That's
hey,
like,
girl, hey,
let's break this down.
I literally, because they're like, well, what am I going to hire you for? And I'm like, listen, let me explain how we do this. There are ways for me to advocate for you and to help your partner advocate for you that do not cause more tension in your birth room.
Yes. And I think that sometimes what happens in these online conversations is that very complicated concepts get kind of chopped into these little slogans almost.
Yes. Compartmentalize this whole sick feeling thing that you're trying to explain. It's like, oh, so you're going to do this? Well, you think no, that's not what I'm saying.
Right. And so no, I never call myself an advocate.
No.
I know that I am not an activist in a birth room.
No.
There are clients who would say that I advocated for them.
Exactly.
And it's complicated, and I know what they mean. Like one of them, and she wrote it in a review, and I had to turn it into Randy and them.
Oh my God.
This is before I was a trainer.
Oh my God.
I was trying to certify. And she said that I advocated for her. And you know what she meant? She went into this hospital, and there are hospitals in DC where you can labor in the tub. And you can have a water birth under certain circumstances. If the right midwife and nurse are there on that day, they will let you do it. And so that's what she wanted. Over the course of her pregnancy and her labor, a lot happened.
Yeah.
And it all like culminated, to make it a shorter story, in her actually requesting a cesarean. They placed the epidural, that was like the first thing that she had done to change her mind. And that didn't work. And she was like saying that she wasn't having good feelings about the anesthesiologist and had not enjoyed her interactions with him. And she's like, I don't want him back in my room. Just get this baby out. I just need to meet my baby. Okay, cool. And so she actually said that I advocated for her to get a cesarean, which was interesting because like, that's not what I ever thought I was coming in here to do.
No.
You know what she meant was that I repeatedly went to the nurse's station and got her nurse in there and got the charge nurse in there, and then eventually got an OB in there and got someone to really talk to her. And I would say that I allowed her to advocate for herself because no one was listening to her. And then it turned out that her cervix was swelling, and she actually did, she did end up needing that intervention. Like, she did need a cesarean. And to me, what I did was trust and believe this woman and say, something is wrong. Something is wrong for her or her baby. She's in pain. Something's wrong, and we have to listen. And I suppose if that makes me an advocate in her mind, I'll take it.
I often describe to people, because I tell them, my husband was the only one he was my support person. He was a rock star for all 4 of my pregnancies.
You have a beautiful family. I don't know if I've ever told you that out loud, but I live for you all of mine.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That gives me warm fuzzies. But he so here it is again. Someone would say, well, he advocated. Well, in his role as dad, I don't have a problem with that. But what he did, the way I tell the story, is not that my husband advocated for me, because that's still someone else doing it. Yeah. What I say is my husband amplified my voice.
Yes. Yes.
And what I said, he made sure they did not ignore me. And when I look at how that is the thing. Like, I actually got chills when I said that. That's weird.
It's powerful.
It is, because that's the thing we say. No one hears us. No one listens to the Black woman, right?
Right. And so sometimes it takes a man. Sometimes it takes someone who is not contracting. Sometimes it just takes somebody who's not in pain on that day.
Exactly.
So we're going to stop and listen to her.
Exactly. And I even will tell, my families, I'll say, I said, listen, I said, and I tell the truth to them. I said, more and more. Well, first of all, I'll start here. We talked about the differences in the whole, how the Black women present themselves, in this work and stuff. When I realized that doulas were being perceived as antagonistic and stuff like that, I immediately, honey, let me tell you, you don't have to tell nobody I'm your doula. Tell them I'm your auntie. Tell them I'm your sister. Tell them I'm your cousin. Because I happened to grow up with people that were not my biological whatever. These were my cousins. Well, they were biological, but not my siblings. Yes. These were cousins. These were whatever. I said, that's one thing that I bring out to them. I say, I have gone into settings before where I'm just there and I'm just helping you. I'm just helping. And we don't have to, because sometimes people say, this is my doula. And
it makes me hot and sweaty when they do that. Because I'm like, oh, now nobody's going to listen to either of us.
Exactly. That's what I try to explain to them. That, everyone doesn't have this kumbaya relationship with doulas. I said, so a lot of what we do, we use discretion. And I believe that is a survival tactic that Black people have always used.
Yes.
Discretion. Let's just fill it out. It's okay. It's okay to say, oh, this is my friend helping me or whatever. And I have had to do that sometimes because then I'm just this older woman that's in there. It's like, oh, you okay? You okay? You feel whatever? And that, because I'm as Black, that is something.
It's non-threatening.
It's non-threatening. And I don't think. So along with that, I'll say, along with that, and understanding that our historical context says that mama, auntie, grandma, whoever might be there, sister, cousin, I use that. And I understand that's one of the things I use that. The other side of that though is I'm looking when I found out that they were, I know you saw it. It was back in August. The doctors, they were like, we no longer work with people who have doulas or other lay support people. And that was so much. I was like, I don't think some parents that want doulas understand that everyone is not open and receptive, and that the way they present this whole thing, the way that they go about it, it should be welcomed, sure. But, there are different doulas that approach stuff in different ways. And I have to tell them there are doulas that go in there and they'll flip off the hospital equipment.
Yes. So the way that I'm working to approach that is I'm trying to build relationships.
With the
with doctors. That's the pro doula way.
Exactly.
We do that. And
absolutely.
That's what we do.
And it is effective. It
is effective. It's a long game, though.
It's long.
It's a long game, and I suspect that it is longer as a Black woman. That's my suspicion. I think it's taking me longer. I think it's taking me longer because just like I know that I have been in the same hospital with a similar, it's always slightly different sets of nurses, but a similar set of nurses. And I have been in there with a white woman, an Indian woman, and a Black woman. And I've seen differences of treatment. And then I've been in there with a Black woman with a white husband.
Oh,
hey, that's different too. And that's how you know that it's different.
Yes.
Because let me not say his name. As soon as he walks in the room, everything changes. And suddenly we are all legitimized.
The hierarchy is so, think about it. You can hear about Black nurses who say that they have a harder, that they have to work amongst the ranks. I don't mean it rude, but who do we think we are? We come in as Black doulas.
Right. And it's not going to be different.
And it's not, how do we think that somehow we rise to this other, whatever? It is one of the reasons why. I try to even, part of my sessions with them is let's get, I don't know why I'm saying all this. Let's get, I love it. It's just me and you. It's just me and you. Let's get our communication. How are we gonna do this or that? How are we gonna navigate this? I do let them know that, especially those that are like, I'm a paying client at this hospital, and
I love them. I love them so much, and I can tell when people do that, I picture them at work. And I see exactly who they are.
I know exactly.
I see exactly who they are in the rest of their life. And I live for it. I have to tell you, I'm like, yes, get yours.
It's like, I immediately just, okay.
Right.
The way my husband and I look at it is like this. So the way that my family, if I'm a client here, then I gently.
And they're not wrong is the thing.
They're not.
Like, America owes us. The hospital system owes us, frankly. The obstetrics and gynecology most certainly owes us.
Gosh. Everything.
Owes us all the things.
All the things.
So I'm like, ma'am, you are not wrong. And also.
And I honestly do appreciate those as well, because then I know who I'm dealing with, and I know I can have this we're going to have a candid conversation. We're going to do this like this, which look, I live for those.
Yes. And for them, like, sometimes we have to troubleshoot a little bit, and something in our marketing seems to attract a decent number of them. And so we a lot of times end up like deputizing the husband or fiance or partner. And
please talk about that, because that's exactly what I was going to say. I love that. I wasn't going to say it that way because I didn't have a word for it, but now I do.
He becomes like the deputy, because sometimes, like, when they're like, I'm a paying customer and this is what we're going to do, and she is just showing up in all of her I run the worldness, a lot of times that dynamic plays out in their relationship as well. And it's beautiful. Like, the one of the things that I love about this work is the vulnerability that I get to see in men.
Yes.
And the care and concern that I see for the women that they love and their babies. And I see these relationships, you know, there's a lot of conversation around Black masculinity and hypermasculinity and how we have just like, I mean, sometimes the conversation is that we as women have emasculated our men. That's bullshit. I'm not participating in that.
Exactly.
The other thing that has happened, though, I think systemically, is like Black men have not always had certain room to be who they may have been otherwise.
Talk, Sam, talk.
And so I love, one of the things that I love about birth, and I think it does happen more in a hospital setting, is that it is a time for a man to show up as this like royal knight, and here he is, and he is protecting his family, and it's like, oh, where did you come from, sir? I will sit down in the corner, carry on, and touch it right here. Hip squeeze right there. Okay, cool, carry on. And the conversation that a husband or boyfriend or fiance, or even like the more masculine of two women, like whoever is filling that masculine role, like the conversation that they can have with a provider is sometimes different than the conversation that I can have with a provider, because that's family.
And that's the difference. And that is why, that's what I mentioned, like my husband amplifying my voice.
Yes.
He was able to do that because, you know, I'm like, look, you go tell them. I said, he was like, my wife said.
Yes, I love it.
And my wife knows her body, you know.
Oh, and they get that bass in their voice.
Yes. And you see my husband, he's not gentle actually, but he's not like this. But baby, every last time I was like, you go tell them. I said, I feel something and whatever. My wife said she feels something. And my wife, when she knows her body. I need somebody to come in here.
For it. And to see it in these couples where very clearly she is oftentimes the more dominant presence.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes what happens during pregnancy and birth is that like she can only do so much. I mean, she's out here growing legs and eyeballs and umbilical cord. She can only do so much. We all have our limits. And so then,
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no. So then, like, I think as doulas, one of the most powerful things that we can do is coach couples in like actually sharing the load.
Yes.
Like actually sharing the load. And there's a lot of bull out there about Black fathers and who they are and aren't. And I know, and the CDC, as a matter of fact, did a little study a few years ago that said that that's not true. But
tell the people, Sam, whatever.
First of all, the government even says, but anyway, I know that I see from the very beginning how present our partners are. And it is so powerful. And even partners, like every once in a while, there will be a couple where I do sort of question, how's he going to show up? What's going to happen here? 9 times out of 10, he shows up too. He might do it scared, but he does it.
He does it.
He does it. And the power in seeing a family come together, and a lot of our couples, they're first-time parents. So it's like the first time that they're facing a challenge of this magnitude together. And it starts their journey off so powerfully. And I think it's another reason why like Black birth workers matter, because we know all of the context.
Yes.
We know all of the context of like what it means for Black families to stand up for their children and Black folks to stand up for each other. And what it means for a Black man to say to a doctor, a person in authority wearing a white coat, this Black woman understands her body and she knows that something is going on, and either you need to leave her alone or you need to check on her, whatever he's saying right then. Like, that is so powerful, and we know it. And then it's a whole other layer when a pair of Black lesbians get to do that for each other. And I'm like, let me just sit in the corner and be a witness.
Yeah.
It's so really powerful.
It really is. I love so much of what you just said. You know, I was with I do this frequently. It's like when you talk about, you said it a certain way. I was going to write it down. I forgot. But you were talking about how you kind of go through like scenarios. You help them like find their space. You said it so much more eloquently than me. But
I can never say things twice.
But that is such a big part. Oh, I know what I was going to say around that. You know, the thing about this that is intriguing to me is that birth is not the only place where Black people have like interact with the hospital and have to kind of assert and advocate for themselves.
Absolutely.
They're going to have a child that they're going to have to advocate for throughout the whole system. You understand? They're gonna be in school and you'll need to advocate for them. They're gonna be, you know, all in all these arenas, you're gonna have to advocate for them. And I love, see, even the way you described it, you know, often they're first time parents, and this is the first of something like this for them, you know, and even understanding the context of whatever is. I was with a couple and they were, you know, practicing. I was like, okay, so just kind of hang on him, lean on him, you know, get accustomed to hanging on him, lean on. She's like, what if he drops me? What if I get too heavy? And I'm looking at him, and so she's right. So, you know, she's big, honey. You know, she's at a big, and so she's feeling very large, and very not, you know, herself. And I'm looking at him in his face, right? And I said, so what are you gonna tell her when she says that? And I'm mouthing at him. He's like, you're not gonna fall. I said, tell her you got her. I'm like,
right. That's what you say. I got you.
Tell her you got her. You know. And he's like, I said, what are you gonna say? So I'm mouthing some things and saying some things, and I said, well, what if she feels like that? What are you gonna tell her? He said, I got you. You ain't gonna fall. Yes.
Having a moment.
Okay. What?
I love it. It's just so powerful.
It's so powerful because that's not just about you standing there. That's not just about you having your baby. It's about you. And what Black woman doesn't want her man to say, look, I got you is more than I love you. It's more than I got your back. I got you is a whole thing.
That's big. And you know, I'm out here with these young professionals, and they may have never said that to each other.
Exactly. Yes. Because why? Often the woman is like, no, I got myself.
Yes, I got myself, and you get yourself, and we'll merge our bank accounts, and we'll have a beautiful wedding, and we'll put the kids in Jack and Jill. Cool. I'm with it. But does he got you, though?
What? Girl, and it's those moments to me that and you have to talk to them, you know, because it's like, look, we own businesses, we this, we that, we the other. And I say, okay, because I realize who I'm dealing with. I get you. I hear you, sis. I said, okay, so then I'm going to help you all also be that power couple in birth. Yes. Because often the men might feel like, okay, well, I don't know, whatever, I don't know.
Because she's got everything.
She's got everything. And she's never really had to, to depend on me. And so much of our time is about, and I'm spending time with them. I said, we'll practice something. And I said, okay, come over here. I'll say, come over here and you do it now. And I don't say, sometimes when you practice a position to manage discomfort, whatever, the person will say, okay, this is going to help relieve the pain in your whenever. We do it. I said, okay. Now you come and now you do. All right. Now you come and get this right here. Now, and then I say, so-and-so, what do you feel? What does that feel like for you? And she says, well, I feel like I can see how this would help. I feel like I'm opening, like if we do something, she said, I actually feel like I'm opened up. and I feel like this. And I look at him and I said, did you hear what she said? Lock it in. In this position, she feels like she's open.
Yeah.
Lock it in. Did you hear what she said? In this position, she felt strain off of her back. Okay. Now, technically, he's already done that position with her. And it's funny because I'll do something and then I say, okay, come do it. And she'll be like, I can't feel it, or not like that, or whatever, right? So part of my talk is also, oh, and nothing she says offends you. Nothing. Nothing.
Right.
I said, nothing she says offends you, which she kind of loves. And he's like, yeah, oh, nothing.
Right. And I'm like, nothing offends you because she's having your baby.
I'm like, I go like, oh, whatever. I said, she's extending your legacy, man. Okay. She's like,
let her say what she wants because she's bearing your child.
She's bearing your child. She's giving you something that you actually you could not do on your own.
Yep.
So nothing that she says is gonna offend you. Nothing. So if I do something on her back, or I do something on whatever, and then the guy comes and he says, and he does it, that's so fast, slower.
She needs it slower. I mean, we just have to work with it.
You know, I just love what you said, because I have so much appreciation for what you described, you know, especially because our more affluent, our more professional, our more educated are no less likely to have to deal with the racism and the systematic issues that we have. And it's easy to feel like it does. I mean, we now have plenty of examples that it does not matter. In my mind, I often just think about, like, you know, people say, oh, they didn't bring slaves over. They brought architects, and they brought scientists, and they brought whatever over when they brought, you know, our ancestors over on the ship and on those ships. And one of the things is, I feel like the same thing happens when a woman is birthing. I remember having several degrees and about to have a baby and being treated certain ways.
I have worked with lawyers, and we have clients now who are doctors.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter.
It
doesn't. And sometimes, like, just thinking about what we were talking about earlier, like the arguments that we as birth workers have with each other. You know, one of the things, and I even felt a little bit self-conscious coming on here and talking to you, because I was like, oh, the Black folks are going to remember that I'm with Pro Doula and we're those money hungry bitches, and they're going to have a feeling about it.
Let me write a note to say something about that lady.
I don't usually curse on the internet. Sorry, Mom, if you watch this. Oh God.
I don't censor. That's why I tell everybody, we're not censoring, we're not editing. It's all
it's good. The closer I get to my mid-30s, the more I realize it's time to just be who I am in all settings.
And it's important also that people, like I told you before, our voices are often muted. I call it an interview, but it's conversation, because we feel stuff. And the more we talk, the stuff that we really feel comes out.
I know. And so I was self-conscious, because I was like, oh, you know, they're going to remember that Randy is my friend and they're going to come get me. I don't know what they would be doing. Like, I like to think that they would be with their clients. So, but you know, we tell ourselves these stories in our head. And particularly when it comes to like infant mortality and maternal mortality, I hear a lot from Black women, whether they're about to come take a training with me, or they want to work with the agency, or we're just like talking. I hear that they feel like they can't make a living at this work because they need to serve women who are the most under-resourced. Now, I realize that in DC, I'm working in a very particular context because we have a lot of Black professionals. And there has been a Black middle class now for a couple of generations. We're still not safe.
Exactly.
But there's like monetarily, or certainly not physically, but we do have a very particular context, and context matters. I acknowledge acknowledge that, but I also want Black birth workers to know that, like, we can't think that when one of us gets a degree or some money, that suddenly all of the systemic racism goes away. And all of the damage that has been done to our bodies as a result of the stress that racism does. And, you know, for those of us who have history of enslavement in our background, like whatever epigenetics we get from that, they don't go away because we went to college.
Not at all.
They don't go away if we make six figures. And I can tell you for sure that in the eyes of the medical establishment, we go into that hospital and we are a person with some melanin in a gown.
It's no different than when they took us off of the ships.
Yep.
But before they stripped us down.
Yes.
No one sees your crown. No one sees that you, whatever.
All of it is gone. All of it is gone. And like, if it can happen to Serena Williams.
Exactly.
It can happen to anybody.
And I'm just going to throw this in. And with her white husband.
With her white husband, who really does seem to show up for her.
Huh?
Who really does seem to show up for her.
He shows up, and that's what I'm saying. Like you mentioned it before.
Yeah.
There is something that happens.
There is something that happens.
With all of her, everything.
Yes. And like peak physical health, you know, peak achievement and attainment, with a white husband who seems to be, you know, woke enough to like be paying attention. And because he really does seem to show up for her. Like, that's the kind of white husband you need if you're gonna go get one. But like, even still, she
was
like,
not listened to.
Yeah, she was not listened to. It's not just that she had a health issue, it's that they tried to ignore her.
Ignored her.
And so like I just want Black birth workers to understand, like, again, like we said at the beginning, we all need to be out here doing this work in whatever capacity that we can. I really do want us to understand, though, because one of the groups of people that I feel like I'm called to support is other Black birth workers. We have every right to make a living, just like everybody else. And if you make choices where you charge a certain amount, and so like maybe you're still working with Black folks or people of color, if that's who you're working with, and it's the folks who are middle class, you are still doing the work.
Yep.
I just need to say it out loud somewhere. Like, we're still doing the work over here at DC Metro Maternity, because it's just as much racism, and they don't care who got what degree. They don't care that I went to Duke. They don't care that my client has her own medical degree.
At all.
In this hospital, she ain't got no privileges and she's having a baby.
And I want to, you know, I wrote so many notes where I was like, I'm writing this down. I'm not going to interrupt her. I'm going to write this down. I want to say first, Randy is my friend too.
I know.
And so it's one of those things where, you know, one of the reasons why I do this, besides amplifying our voices, is to show the diversity of all of us. Yeah. If you ever look at the different people I have interviewed, they are all
it's amazing.
Different.
I love it.
They're so all different. They have I mean, some of them are just like absolutely believe the exact opposite of another person. Okay?
But it's so powerful.
But it's powerful because we are not a monolith.
Yes.
And, you know, when I look at things, there is systematic racism regardless. But I give people opportunities to be individuals within within this institution of racism.
Yeah.
Someone that shows me something different, I'm not going to give a pass on everybody. But I'll say, oh, this person, because if I can be myself, if I can have a candid conversation, I can rock with you.
Yeah. And if we can, like, if there's something that we need to struggle with, if we can struggle through it together,
then that's different.
Different.
If I'm always walking on the eggshells and stuff, no, I'm not going to deal with that. And so I just wanted to say that, you know, as far as I'm concerned, people's affiliation with any of these organizations that are out here. We need us everywhere, because I have watched, and I'm like trying to talk, I'm talking funny because I'm trying not to just call out a bunch of organizations, but I see us more in all of these different leadership roles in organizations. And the thing that I also see is I see in the back rooms, in the back chats, in the back groups, and in the back groups that are just exclusively us, I see how we talk. No matter how many Black organizations that people know, somebody's gonna be excited when they say, hey, so-and-so sending so-and-so to town. She's a Black trainer. I always wanted to train with so-and-so, with this organization. I just wanted a Black trainer. I want to train with them. Part of our liberation as Black women is to acknowledge that we too deserve options. Like I said before, if
we too deserve options.
Say it again.
We too deserve options.
We deserve options. And you know, I'm being snarky now, but many.
Go ahead. I've never heard you be snarky. I'm ready.
You know, people can talk about things in birth culture that make no sense. And there's the sun. I knew you were coming. People can talk about things in birth culture that make no sense in real life. Oh, you work for that white organization. Oh yeah, and so did you, and your husband, and your
right.
Most of these companies out here are owned by white people. So to act like this is not a thing, also I think is slight hypocrisy. So I'm like, stop. Just stop. Don't do that. Don't make it like somehow I don't have the option to work with whom I desire to work with. The other thing about being money hungry, let me tell you, I want to tell you why I respect Pro Doula. Okay.
Tell me.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you this is like the whole thing, and this is one of the things that I actually really, well, Randy was one of the ones who I had friends here, and then I had Randy, both of them, like my friends before I left to first go to New York. I went to training because I've done the Pro Doula trainings and everything years ago when they first started. And
it's different now. We just had a trainer's training. It was real fun.
What? Before I left, my friends were like, you should call yourself Dr. Doula. I'm like, okay, that's weird.
No, it's strange.
And I rolled my eyes at them. We were sitting in a Chinese restaurant. I was like, oh, that's stupid. Then I go and I'm sitting there and I'm in the training with Randy. And it wasn't my first training because I've done a plethora of them. But she's like, you should call yourself Dr. Doula. I was like, what? Had no relation, didn't know the other people. So she's one of those, she was one that really was like, you should do that and own it.
But it's confirmation that you should own that.
He was like,
that's who you are.
He has been very empowering in my life. And so I want to say that, and everyone's going to have their own experiences and stuff, but I want to make sure that I say that that's for me. I don't expect people to be friends with who I'm friends with. You know, I'm not that, I'm just not, that's just not me. I don't ask people to unfriend who I unfriend, whatever. So people have their autonomy in that. But the other thing that I wanted to mention, you were talking about money hungry and all these other things. You know, the way that I looked at it was when I was looking around in birth culture, this was an organization that was saying you deserve to be paid.
Yes, it's that simple.
It literally was that simple, and you deserve to be paid for your time and being away from your family, and you should. And it was a removal from the martyrdom thing that I have been accustomed to hearing. Now that anybody who knows me knows that that's not the only. I'm very complex.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So I can say that, and at the same time say that the work that I do in light of the ancestors, that my grandmothers and what they did for my mom and all of my relatives. And that speaks to me. But what also spoke to me in that same vein and the way that came together for me was, and I might have said it to you, but I probably whispered it. I'll see how much I'll say. Yeah, I think I did. I might have whispered it in a corner somewhere when we were talking. But, you know, when it comes to Black women not being paid, that is common. When it comes to Black people not being paid because they're working with other Black people, it's almost expected. Yeah. It's expected to somehow be a martyr. Right. It's expected. Here's the deal. if I choose to give you something,
Mm-hmm.
it's me giving it to you.
Yes.
There is no reason, however, that you should expect that I will, simply because
Yes.
I'm an empathetic Black woman.
And see, this is the thing. I just want us to get to a place where we are no longer working from lack in ourselves.
Exactly.
Or assuming lack in each other.
Exactly.
That's what I want. And that is critical to me as a Black woman that owns a business, and now like other Black women and a Latina work with me. Like, I want each and every one of us and anyone who chooses to come in contact with us to know, like, we don't assume that anyone is less than because of melanin or because they lack money. I believe that we have martyred ourselves long enough.
Literally.
Like, we have not had the option but to martyr ourselves.
And that's the thing. It's like,
yeah.
I stand with those who say I'm going to help my friends and whatever. That's why I do what I do.
I get it.
Here, let me help you. Come here. You feel called. I have people that say, can we just talk? I just feel like women are coming to me and they want whatever, da, 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 and I'm not feeling this doula thing. But I know you can help me. I want to help my sister, whatever. Hey, come on. Right. Fine. Because we should have options.
We should have options.
You have people that don't want to call themselves doula because the real meaning is not servant, female servant, but female slave.
Well, there's that.
And she should have that option. Because I don't want to. I don't. There are others that don't identify with the way it looks in society. They don't like how it feels.
And everyone is not going to make this a career. We have lost too much.
We have lost too much to decide that it's like I only play by these rules, and that's how they feel. And how am I going to say anything but okay?
Yeah, I get it. I hear it.
Every year, it's more and more and more. So when we say we're going to fix our problems, don't look and tell me, yeah, you can do everything but that. You don't get to tell me how we fix our problems.
Yep.
You don't get to say you're allowed to do this but not do that. You know, part of it is you have to stand down because there are enough issues for everybody to work on the problems, you know, that they have. The issues that are based in white supremacy and all those things. White people have a lot to work with over there, and that's cool. We have a lot to work with right here as black people. That's cool. And I know for some people that feels very segregated. You know, it feels like, well, why are we not whatever? But literally, you know, I'm trying to work. My focus is on, okay, let's fix let me see what I can do over here with us. I can't make somebody not be racist or look at me and prejudge me.
Yeah.
You understand? So, what else did I want to say that I wrote all these notes? Girl, I had a whole little sticky. I'm like,
I'm excited for your sticky.
I know, but I'm over here just ripping them. But the biggest thing that I wanted to just pull back, there is something to be said. And I tell people, when it comes to, you know, I ask one of the questions I ask, because some of the people use my Sankofa Birth Ambassadors as like a gateway to birth world. A lot of them actually. And they will say, I just need to know what's going on first. And I like that you said you're going to lay down. And they come back and they're like, I saw all of the things you told me about. But they know what they want. They don't get thrown off by it in the whole nine. But one of the things that I tell them is that if you're looking to do this as a business, I know exactly where to send you.
Yeah.
Because
there are other ways to do it, and that's okay.
There are other ways.
Yeah. Personally, I do not have a struggle with everyone not making it a business. That doesn't bother me. It doesn't concern me. That's a place for another trainer.
Exactly. And I tell them, I said, I can show you where to go, where you will learn, and you will, I ask them, some of them say, no, I just want to, you know, it's like my cousin is coming to me, my so-and-so. I said, oh, I got you. Okay. Cool, but if they say, but when they start talking about, I want to have a this, I want to have a that, I want to do a this, they are talking about being able to establish business. And when that comes up, I know where to send them. And I have no problem. And I'm so special. I say, listen, most of my referrals and resources are Black women resources and stuff like that. But there are a few, and this is one of them. Doula is one of them that I use. And see, we can sit here and have shots fired together. It's okay. It's literally okay. There are people that don't shop at Walmart that I know because they're like that the family that owns Walmart.
Yes.
You know? Meanwhile, others shop gleefully at Walmart and are the first ones there.
Yeah, gleefully.
From Black Friday. I just don't feel like my relationship with my sisters has to be based on who I decide to work with or anything like that. And I choose not to make that a part of the dominant part of my birth expressions and work in birth culture. So I just wanted to get all that out. The whole money hungry thing, it's time for us to get paid for who we are. And
I believe that
there's a and if you're one that only wants to charge, $400 in New York City, and someone decides that they want to do that and that works, then that's on them. That's more power to them. Okay. And I get it. And I understand people say, oh, wait, whatever. Well, I have, as a Black woman, tailored my services so that I know that what I give them, they won't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem saying this is what I charge. This is what you're going to get. Because I know there is no, I have worked on my craft. I've worked on what I do enough to be confident in knowing that there are some things that standard doulas will do that I don't do. And I tell them, oh, I don't do that. But this right here that I do, oh, honey, you won't find that anywhere else.
Yeah. And I think,
yeah, go ahead.
There's just something so powerful about, in whatever way we choose to own who we are, there's something really powerful about that. And what I will say, one of the reasons, initially I found Pro Doula because, like, in the midst of one particular depressive episode, I quit everything else. I wasn't wrong. I wouldn't recommend it to everybody. But yeah, I quit everything else. And I needed to control the way that I was going to live my life. And I needed to control the way that I was going to earn my money. Because we can sit up here and pretend that we're cool with not having any money.
Baby pie, please.
Right. As long as America is a capitalist society. Now, I have friends who are working on burning that down, and I fully support them. I am happy to fund it. Carry on. If we're done with capitalism, cool, I'll join you. But that's not my calling. To take it down. And so as long as we are working within a capitalist structure, I'm going to need money to move throughout the world. And for me, it was important that I figure out how to control the way that I earned my money. And it was also important to me that I no longer have to deny callings that I feel. And owning your own business is just one of the ways to do that. You know who was going to teach me fastest and maybe show me a new position that I, didn't know? A Pro Doula training was coming to town. It was really just that simple.
That's right.
It was just that simple. And I think that it can be more complicated for other people, and other people can have their own relationship. But what I know is that because we are Black and we want to serve Black people, that does not mean that we have to struggle monetarily.
Not at all.
It doesn't.
It's important to know that there are diverse ways to do this, and that there is no one way to do it. And I don't have to fall out with you because I can't. Okay, you don't have to. I just don't relate in the world like that. I just really believe that we are really needed everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's like people we need representation. We need people everywhere. Yeah,
we need to be everywhere. The world is better when we are spread everywhere.
Everywhere. And so I love it. And I love you. Okay, so if you had advice for a young aspiring Black woman who's like, I really want to get involved in birth.
Yeah.
There's so many different things, all these different, I just don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I don't know any of that. What type of advice would you offer?
That's a good question. I feel like I thought about it. Okay. You know what I would, and I say this to people. If you feel called to birth work, the first thing that you need to do is be willing to get past that fear. Because when you say aspiring young woman, I think of someone similar to myself.
Yes.
Who, and this is certainly not everybody's story, but I think more and more, it is becoming, in some ways, by professionalizing this,
yes,
are actually making it possible to go back to how it used to be in my mind's eye, where a young woman sees the midwife in her town and is like, that's gonna be me.
Yes.
And if we are not out here making it a profession so that it can be something that a young person wants to be when they grow up, then we are going to lose a certain number of people that are like I was. Like, now I'm 32, I still haven't had a baby. So you mean I would have had to wait until I got some grand invitation after I had my hypothetical children, which still might not be for another few years like that? It could be a good 10 years of birth work before I have kids. Who knows? And so what I would tell that young woman, if she's similar to me and she has not had kids yet, is to find someone who believes in you now as you are. And I would say that even for older birth workers, like wherever you find it, find someone who believes in you and believes that you have something to offer to the families that are around you. Because if you feel called to this work, what I have learned is that not everybody feels called to this work. Not everybody watched.
I didn't know that either. I
didn't know.
I actually learned it in an interview while I was talking, and and someone was like, no, it's not a call for me. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? Because I was interviewing someone and I didn't realize it. I learned in all of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if you were like me and you felt called, because I remember I was talking to a friend who did life coaching, and I told her about this like vision that I had. And at the time I had no idea what it meant, but I saw myself in a garden. And my mom has never had a garden, but my great grandmother did.
Okay.
So I saw myself in a garden, and I saw myself passing around a basket of fruit to other women. And I saw us talking, and we were sitting in a circle. And now, like,
wow.
Really, right. Like, what is this? What is this dream? It was like a waking dream sort of vision that I had. And I saw myself offering fruit to them. And we were, who knows what we were talking about? Probably stuff that women talk about. I don't know. And so now I look at that and I'm like, fruit. Fruit bears life. And sitting with women, like that's so much of what we do and what birth workers have always done. And so I was feeling a calling before I had any context for it. And I think that there are numbers of women who feel calls like that.
Yes.
And they don't know what to do with it. And so like other than Google, like one of the first things that I did was just start talking about it. And so like, talk about it. Don't keep it a secret. Don't think that you're less than because you haven't had a baby yet, or because you're too poor, or you got too much money and you're self-conscious about it, or like whatever your too much is, like move past that and go and find someone who believes in you, because like how we've always done this work is through mentorship. We've always done this work in community. We've always had babies in community. And we're not supposed to do it alone. We're not supposed to enter into birth work and then be these isolated little islands, these little chocolate chips here and there. We're not supposed to do it that way. Yeah, and you know, I think it's powerful to just find someone who believes in you, and then go get a training from somebody. I'll do it if you want, but get it from somebody.
Tell them, girl. Listen, before I let you tell them how they can get you to come do a training, I want to say what is so amazing about what you said was the context of, so, you know, I'm always looking at things from an African context and
I love it.
Whatever.
What are you going to teach me?
Okay, right. But what you described when you said, I was telling my life coach about this dream I had and this whatever, and I saw myself whatever. What I've learned is a couple of things. I've learned that the Southern midwives, many of them, some in older age after they had their kids, but some of them younger as well, would have those kinds of dreams. And they would ask and talk to someone about it. And they would be like, I don't know what this means. And I just saw so-and-so, or I just saw whatever. And they were having these kinds of dreams. And I say this in the context of you referring to it as a call, because that was when they would talk to someone else, they would say, that's a call, baby. You being called to do whatever. Now take it back even further. And, you know, I connect a lot with people in South Africa, and they have Isangoma. That's the traditional healer there. And we know that our midwives in the South were also healers. So it wasn't just about catching a baby, it was understanding, because we were using traditional methods of healing, herbs, and just different things that they understood about the environment and nature. In South Africa, the Isangoma, when they are feeling called, many of them, some of them experience other things, but a lot of them will experience visions or dreams. And similar to what you said, going to find someone to mentor you or whatever, they go and sometimes they wait, and the person they're supposed to have teach them, well, actually they've never seen before, but when they see this person, it's like, that's the one.
Yeah.
Or they might be on the street and say, I've been on this street before, and the mother, because they're younger, will say, no, you haven't, you've never been here before. But they will find in that place on that street the person. And all of these things are part of you described like empathy before, but I also look at it as part of that. Not that no other culture or group of people have it, but it is very much a part of who we are as Black people.
It's our legacy.
It's the legacy of who we are.
Yeah.
And so what you said and what you described is so much, very much not only connected to our Southern roots and being called, but also connected to our African roots and how the call still feels today. It's still the same.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, I had to give that to you.
Thank you.
Like,
I knew you would teach me something. You always do.
So I want you to tell them, in case someone sees this, because I love all of y'all. I thank you all for being in the spots where you are. I don't have time with what my call is to distinguish between what organization someone is with or not with. I love all of y'all. I see all of y'all kicking behind, and I'm like, yes. When I see the women that say, I want to go with this and I want to go for it, but I want that trainer. Yes. You know, I want this.
I love that about you. Did you see, I know you're asking me a question, but did you see, you know how all the Black women just won all these pageants or whatever?
Yes.
Right?
Nigeria, Miss Nigeria.
I love her. Just that spirit. That spirit. And it's like the same spirit, like when there's that GIF where like Taraji is like, yes, like that's what I want us to be for each other.
That's what I feel for y'all when I see you winning, when I see you chosen, when I see you whatever. You know, I know some people will look and say, oh, it's just because they wanted to. No. I'm not even finishing my statement. No. I'm so happy. That you just described me exactly.
Yes, that's you. I love that about you.
I stalked social media looking for y'all's lights. Like, where are they? I literally look for all that Black girl shine. I'm looking for where is it? So I can just add my 2 cents and just let them talk it. I mean, of course, people are like, oh, I just am so impressed with you all, because the more we shine, and especially those of us who say we have a call, the more we shine, whether we feel a call or not, the more we are out there, the more our voices are amplified. So I'm so happy when I see you. I'm happy when, you know, I see, oh, Sam said something with this. Was she blowing up today? You know? And I want you to know that from the bottom of my heart. From the bottom of my heart. I see virtue in everything that all of my sisters are doing. I see the virtue in it. I see it regardless of how they've chosen, whether they're making a table for themselves or sitting at another table or representing well or lending their voice to institutions and to companies and organizations that perhaps the leadership honestly wants, like, how can I do this? You know, and then they're using their voices. And what I love is that you all are so unapologetic about it in every facet. You're not just sitting and being, you know, a token. You're like, oh no, if I sit here, I'm going to speak.
Yeah.
And that just, all I can do is celebrate you all. And
we just need it everywhere. We need to be everywhere. Our clients, our families, our communities need us.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Wherever you get in, fit in. Cool.
And they're going to be attracted to different things.
Yeah.
You know, as wonderful as I think I am, some people are like, oh, I don't know how I feel about like that whole head wrap thing. Okay. Somebody else might be like, oh, wait, I think I feel closer to the motherland. You know, no one has, why don't we need our options too.
Yeah.
And what you present is another option.
We have certainly suffered and earned for our options.
Exactly. So tell the people, if they wanted a training, what kind of trainings do you do? Tell us that.
Okay.
And how they can, like, if they are like, oh my God, I love Sam, and I don't know what she's teaching, but I wanted to teach it to me, you know, well, how can they?
Okay. So, if you are looking to find me, the business's website is dcmetromaternity.com. And you can email either info@dcmetromaternity.com or Samantha@dcmetromaternity.com. There are multiple ways to reach me. I like to be accessible. If you're feeling froggy and you want to pick up the phone, then the number is 202-827-5652. I do answer. It rings to my cell phone. Yeah, and I will be so thankful that you're not spam. So, like, feel free to call, for real. And then if you specifically want to be trained as a doula, as we've alluded to, I train with Doula, and right now I have a few trainings on the books in like DC, Maryland, and Virginia. But you can email info@ProDoula and request me specifically. They will make that happen for you. I'm willing to go anywhere that we can gather a group of doulas. Yeah, and so you can either check prodoula.com and see where I'm already training, or like literally we can bring one directly to you, particularly if you do find yourself both called to do this work and you want to make a living at it.
Yes.
Because I am totally making a living at it. And I'm working with Black folks. Nice. And I want people to know that that's possible.
Beautiful, Sam.
It's possible, and it's beautiful, and it's amazing. And we deserve all the things, all the options, both as people who give birth and as birth workers.
That's right. Oh, I just love you to bits and pieces. I knew I was. That's why I kept bugging you, like, Sarah.
I know you kept sending me the little smiley faces. And I was doing a live-in. I did off and on like 6 months of live-in postpartum work this year.
Wait, your trainings, are they for postpartum and?
Yes, postpartum and labor.
Okay.
Yep, I do postpartum and labor, and I love it. I actually love postpartum work. I love it. And I think we need more Black postpartum workers.
Oh my gosh.
That could be a whole other hour and a half.
I know. I was sitting there like that. We can't even discuss that because that will take. I have grown. I didn't think it. I never saw it coming, but I
didn't think I would like it. I love it. I
have this whole thing about postpartum moms now that I never thought I would have.
And like the conversation that we had about like families starting to be knit together and couples deciding how they're going to show up for each other. Let me tell you about showing up at 3 a.m. That is something different. Or even the partner who says, I am not able to do this, but let me find someone who can, and showing up in that way and helping a postpartum mother see that.
That's so beautiful.
And helping a postpartum mother. I just had a call from a woman yesterday who said like she believes that she's been struggling with anxiety, and so like she has gone and worked on that, but she's concerned because her family doesn't necessarily know how to deal with that, and she's like, major life transitions like trigger her. And so she wants someone there who is a Black person and understands that context, and also understands and believes that like this is a major life transition, and sometimes things go a little left in your head. Exactly. Everything about your identity changes. Yeah. So we need more Black women doing postpartum work. We need it. That's a whole separate conversation. I could really sit here and talk to you for oh Lord, we would have talked for an hour and 42 minutes. I could talk for another couple hours about how strongly I believe in that.
But I'm so glad that you mentioned it, because that is what has become the strongest for me. And it's for the reasons you stated. And I'm so glad that you said it. And I mean, it's a beautiful way to end, because just the whole notion of, you know, when I think about it, it's the beginning of so many things.
I love how you say the childbearing year. Like, I love that language.
Yeah.
Because it's powerful. It's not just about while you're pregnant. And our midwives didn't like, it wasn't like you just had a baby and they left you and never came and saw you again.
Yeah, there was a continuity to care. Mm-hmm. And I think that part of us getting some of the things that we've lost back and abandoned and surrendered and forgotten starts right there at the postpartum, and how that mom is treated, and how that mom is loved on, and how the family rallies around the mom. Yeah. So I love that you said that. Oh my gosh. I love you, Sam.
I love you too, Dr. Doula.
It's been so lovely. I'm so glad it happened finally.
I know.
But I do want everyone to know that all the information that Samantha Olivia has stated, as far as how you can contact her, that information will be provided. Sam, I just want to say thank you again. You are such a light. You're such a bright star. And I appreciate everything you are, just who you, I appreciate your stances about things. I appreciate just your unapologetic demeanor about being a Black woman in this industry. You are celebrated. You are to be celebrated for what you're doing. And I just honor you. I honor you and I honor you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming on here and talking with me and allowing us to just have a conversation. I appreciate you more than you can ever know. Really, really, really.
You are just so loving. Okay, you're going to make me feel feelings on camera.
Okay, we know feelings. Wait. No feelings on camera. But I want you to know. I want you to know that. I mean that from my heart. I see you, sis. I see you. I see what you're doing. And you are answering that call. And you're making a way for others to do the same. And if there's anything that more that we could do for our people is to answer. I believe they're ancestral calls. I believe that epigenetics and all of that, that's a call that's coursing through our veins. And some people don't choose to answer it, but you have. And
I believe it too.
Yeah. I'm so glad I have a sister that I can say, yes, we're answering this together, you know. All right, tell Sam bye, y'all. And I love you, sis. Her information will be listed below. Thank you for spending time with us, for listening to our conversation. Reach out to Sam. She is just such a resource. And she is loved and appreciated. Love you.
Love you.